The Outfoxies, 1995. Did you know that the Outfoxies is known to be the actual inspiration behind Super Smash Bros? The game released 4 years before Smash and was heralded as the best Smash knockoff that came out even before the original game. Super Smash Bros. 1999. Speaking of Super Smash Bros., the game was internally titled as Pepsi Man during the early development phase. This was because the developers didn't yet have the license to use Nintendo characters, and the pixelated character models reminded them of the popular character known as Pepsi Man. Super Smash Bros. Melee, 2001. Moving on to Super Smash Bros. Melee, did you know that all characters in Melee require 8 frames after grabbing onto a ledge before they can perform another action? However, Link is quite literally the only character in the game that requires only 4 frames before performing another action. Digimon Rumble Arena 2, 2004. Talking about massive things, Digimon is one of the world's most popular intellectual properties. Their fighting game Digimon Rumble Arena 2 has a lot of nuances too. For example, if a character is used to clear the game, that character will sometimes announce Digimon Rumble Arena 2 on the title screen in place of the normal announcement.
Match over! Agumon is the champion! I won!
Jump Superstars, 2005. Speaking of popular intellectual properties, some of the biggest names in the anime world were featured in Jump Superstars. It is by far the only game that features some of the biggest names in anime, such as Naruto, Dragon Ball, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Gintama, Dr. Slump, Bleach, Black Cat, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, Rurouni Kenshin, Shaman King, Yu-Gi-Oh! And more. The game has more anime crossovers than Jump Force did. Super Smash Flash, 2006. Speaking of crossovers, Smash games usually consist of a lot of them. However, Super Smash Flash is the only game in the Smash franchise which was a non-profit game created by a fan, open to any and all players on the internet browser. It was originally hosted on Newgrounds, Congregate, and Armor Games. However, afterwards it was removed from both Congregate and Armor Games. It's the only game in the series that is a Flash game too. Battle Stadium D.O.N. 2006. Battle Stadium D.O.N. was a 2006 fighting game released only and exclusively in Japan for the GameCube and PlayStation 2. Interestingly, the name of the game is D.O.N., which stands for Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto, the 3 anime universes featured in the game. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, 2008. The Super Smash Bros. Franchise is humongous, and Brawl was one of the main games that revolutionized it unlike any other. The reason why Brawl is so different to other games in the series is the fact that it is the only game in the franchise to not feature any stages from Super Smash Bros., and also the only game to not feature Dreamland 64. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Smash Up, 2009. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were bound to get into the fighting game action, and they did spectacularly with 2009's Smash Up. As far as interesting trivia goes, this game's launch trailer uses a cover of the song Don't Ha Ha by Casey Jones and the Governors, only due to one of the game's characters sharing the name Casey Jones with the band's frontman. Super Smash Flash 2, 2010. Super Smash Flash 2 was such a huge deviation from the original that the OG game almost died upon SSF2's release. It took so much inspiration and built upon it, going so far as to add new items and game modes which were completely original to Smash Flash 2. It is one of the most advanced products in the fan community of Smash games. Project M, 2011. Super Smash Bros. Brawl was considered to be much slower when compared to Super Smash Bros. Melee, which is the main reason why Project M was created. This was a mod created to make the game much faster like Super Smash Bros. Melee. Contrary to other great changes, the game's AI massively suffered from the recovery dashes and air dodges that were added, making it much dumber than ever before. Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion, 2011. Popular Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion game has one thing that makes it completely unique to the rest. This was the first game where the insanely popular Ben 10 villain Vilgax was a playable character. Not to mention, Ben only has access to 5 of his alien forms as compared to other games, where he usually has more.
Man, I'm pretty.
PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, 2012. Sony's answer to Nintendo's hit fighting game Super Smash Bros. Franchise was originally going to be created by Naughty Dog Studios. However, Naughty Dog were busy on their generation-defining zombie game known as The Last of Us, due to which a new studio known as Superbot was formed to specifically create PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Brawlhalla, 2014. Brawlhalla is one of the world's most heavily collaborated games, going so far as to collaborate with popular TV shows like The Walking Dead, Adventure Time, and Steven Universe, as well as other games like Tomb Raider, Rayman Legends, Shovel Knight, and Street Fighter. However, the most popular collabs in Brawlhalla are with movies. For example, Hellboy and Kung Fu Panda. Super Smash Bros. 4, 2014. Super Smash Bros. 4 is one of the franchise's most divisive games. However, the one thing that everyone loves was that Super Smash Bros. 4 introduced the Mii Fighters, making it the first game in the series to have normally playable characters representing the Super Smash Bros. Universe. Rivals of Aether, 2015. Rivals of Aether is one of the most unique little indie fighting games that not many people know about, featuring characters from indie games such as Shovel Knight and original characters like Zetterburn and Forsburn. The funny thing about this game is that the original in-game characters' names were inspired by the dev team's gamer tags and nicknames. Kung Fu Panda, Showdown of Legendary Legends, 2015. Speaking of Kung Fu Panda, the Showdown of Legendary Legends was received well on launch. However, the game quickly vanished into nothingness after the game was removed from digital storefronts in 2019. This was due to the expiration of the developer studio's Kung Fu Panda license.
You are truly a master.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 2018. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is by far the franchise's magnum opus, as well as being the most mechanically challenging game to date. This is the biggest game in the franchise, with the largest roster of any game in the Super Smash Bros. Series, with a total of 89 playable characters. Over its 3-day launch period in Japan, it became the best-selling release in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, the fastest-selling Nintendo Switch game of all time. Kirby Fighters 2, 2020. And last but not least, Kirby Fighters 2 is the first and only Kirby game to be developed and released during the COVID-19 pandemic. The development team could not communicate with each other in person due to the remote work environment. They had previously worked together on Super Kirby Clash, so they were familiar enough that no communication issues or major problems arose. MultiVersus, 2022. MultiVersus is the only new game that seems like a heavy contender against Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. The game will feature mainly every single character from Warner Bros.' insanely high lineup of intellectual properties. The important thing to note here is that it is the only game of its kind that will be completely free to play. Fraymakers, 2022. Fraymakers is the opposite of MultiVersus. It's a smaller game made to represent indie games in their own Super Smash Bros.-like gameplay system. However, while most characters in Fraymakers are from smaller projects, Octodad sold over 450,000 copies and made over $5 million in revenue. Compared to everything else in the roster, Octodad is massive.